This video is over section 3.3, Product and Quotient Rule. In this video, we're going to go through an example of a problem that wants us to use the quotient rule in order to take the derivative. But before we go through our example, let's first go through what quotient rule says. So quotient rule says that if we're taking the derivative of a function that has a quotient in it, we're going to follow this pattern. So the pattern tells us, and for my quotient, I labeled my numerator as high and my denominator as low. Quotient rule tells us to do low d high, or the denominator, times the derivative of my high, of my numerator, minus high d low. So numerator times the derivative of my denominator. All that over low squared. So over the entire denominator squared. And notice that in the middle here there's a subtraction sign. That means that my order is really important in this formula, because if I were to flip my high and my low, I'd get the wrong answer here. So make sure that you do low times the derivative of the high minus high derivative of low all over low squared. Okay, so let's apply this. In example 27 in your book, it gives us this function and it's asking for the derivative. So first I'm going to label my low and my high, and I'll just plug it into this formula here. So the derivative of h of t would be low, or just the original denominator, times the derivative of my high. Derivative of t is just 1, minus, remember it's minus this entire quantity of high d low. So minus my high, which is t, which is being multiplied by my entire d low. My derivative of the denominator, if you notice, this is the product of two different functions. So in order to find the derivative of my denominator, I'll actually need to use product rule as well. And remember, product rule tells us to multiply the first times the derivative of the second, plus the second times the derivative of the first. So following that rule, the derivative of the denominator becomes t plus 1 times the derivative of the second, which is just 2t, plus second times the derivative of the first, which is just 1. And don't forget your other parenthesis, lots of parentheses here. And all of that over my low squared. Oops, I'll use green. Which is t plus 1 times t squared plus 1, and all that squared. Okay, so there's a lot of simplification to do here, and it's really easy to mess up, especially if you don't remember all your parentheses. I'm not going to go through all the simplification, but if you want to do it on your own, you want to check your answer. Once you simplify all this, you should get minus 2t cubed minus t squared plus 1 all over t cubed plus t squared plus t plus 1 squared. And that should be your final answer. And that's it for this problem.